Today I'm going to show you how to cook one of my favorite cuts of meat, pork tenderloin. It's a cut of meat that I quite often get asked how to cook. There's two important things to know about cooking a pork tenderloin. One is it should be marinated, and the second is not to overcook it. It's completely safe to eat pork pink, and today we're going to cook that pork tenderloin nice and pink in the middle, and I'm going to marinate it overnight, show you how it's all done. Let's get after it. First thing you're going to need is a bowl. To this bowl, I'm going to add equal parts sake. I'm going to use soy sauce. Third, maple syrup. I'm going to add 2 aromatic ingredients to help bring out some floral qualities in the marinade and to add some extra punch in with the pork. First is ginger, the second is an orange. I'm gonna add about a half a cup of sake, a half a cup of maple syrup, and a half a cup of soy sauce. If you wanted to, you could add some miso in here, but I'm totally happy just with the soy sauce. Orange, very, very simple. Just gonna do some thin slices. Just gonna give them a quick lob in half so that they mix in nicely with the pork tenderloin. When I put it to marinade, those are gonna go straight in, and as much or as little ginger as you like, nothing fussy. I'm gonna give it a quick peel. With the ginger, always cutting across the grain. This is our marinade for our pork tenderloin. Next up, got some beautiful pork tenderloin, fresh, it's never been frozen, just like you can find it in our butcher case. And the only thing that I want to achieve here is removing any silver skin. Silver skin being the connective tissue, usually between the fat layer and the muscle. We're just trying to remove whatever we can. And you just want to run your knife under the silver skin, tip your knife underneath, and then keep your knife slightly slanted up, and that's looking good to go. I'm gonna get my other one prepped up here and get them ready to marinate. All right, marinade's done. Pork tenderloin's trimmed, super simple. I'm gonna add half my marinade in the bottom, place my pork in there. If you weren't using a container like this, you could for sure use a Ziploc bag. If you wanted to get really fancy, you could vacuum seal it. But I'm quite happy with how this is looking. Last thing I do before I put this into the fridge, I'm gonna put some saran wrap on direct contact to the ingredients in my container. And what that's gonna do is help keep the marinade running over top of the product. It's gonna keep any air out of there. It's okay if it's hanging over the edge. I'm gonna put it on my lid, push any air out before I put the last corner down, and that's ready to go in the fridge. We'll see it again tomorrow. I've got my pork tenderloin here that's been marinating for about 24 hours. You don't wanna let it go much longer than 24 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out of the marinade and get it drying off on a tray. I'm going to strain this marinade off into a small sauce pot, leaving the orange and ginger behind. And I'm gonna discard the orange and ginger. I've got some cornstarch and some soy sauce. Because the salt has been withdrawn into the pork tenderloin from my marinade, I need to use a little bit more soy sauce to season it up and make it a little bit saltier. I'm gonna add a little bit of cornstarch into this marinade while the marinade is cold so that I don't get lumps in my cornstarch. And essentially what we're making here is a quick version of a teriyaki sauce. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring it to a boil. I'm also gonna go ahead and heat up a very heavy bottom cast iron pan to cook my pork tenderloin in. Just want to pat this pork tenderloin dry so that when I put it in the pan, I don't get too much splatter. I'm going to be able to create a nice crust and hard sear. I'm going to go ahead and season the outside of this pork with some salt and pepper. It's going to be quite nicely seasoned from the marinade, so I'm not going to go too heavy on the salt. However, I still want it to get a beautiful crust, and that involves making sure we got some freshly ground pepper and a little bit of salt on the outside of these pork tenderloins. My quick teriyaki sauce has come to a boil, nice consistency just like a teriyaki, and we're gonna set that aside for plating. I'm gonna get a little bit of grapeseed oil in my cast iron pan, get that heating up for these pork tenderloins. We're gonna go ahead and finish our pork tenderloin here by basting it with a big knob of butter. The butter's not gonna get eaten, it's there to help keep the pork nice and moist and offer some even cooking. My pork tenderloin's been resting for about 5 minutes. We poured the hot butter over it right after we took it out of the tray. It's important to let meat rest. Pork tenderloin's a leaner cut of meat, so we don't want to let it rest for too long, but I've given it about a 5-minute rest. We've got our little teriyaki sauce here, and you always want to put your sauce on the bottom of a plate when you're serving sliced meat, so you don't cover up the beautiful cookery of your meat. I'm gonna go ahead and just spoon some of this teriyaki right around the plate. One more. Then we're gonna go ahead That's exactly what you're looking for. And go ahead and arrange your slices around the plate, just like so. Perfectly cooked, marinated pork tenderloin